The introduction of the DCU's Batman is The Brave and the Bold. The Brave and the Bold is the story of Batman and his actual son, Damian Wayne. This is based on Grant Morrison's great comic book run. Damian Wayne is my favorite Robin. He's a little assassin who Batman tries to get in line, and so this is the story of the two of them and the beginning of sort of the BatFamily in the DCU.
So in a video I released towards the end of last year, I made a video detailing who I would love to cast as the DCU's version of the Justice League, and since then I have had the desire to make a video with that same structure, but for another part of the universe, more specifically the BatFamily. Now, we've known since 2023 that James Gunn does plan to introduce the DCU Batman in Brave and the Bold, a movie that will adapt the mid-2000s Batman run from Grant Morrison, which introduced Damian Wayne, the fourth Robin in current canon, to audiences. Now, in this video, I'm going to talk about the BatFamily roster I think we should get, along with who could be playing these characters. Now, I have talked about the DCU Batman to varying degrees on the channel before, but I want to break down exactly what we know about this corner of the new DC universe so far. So, as mentioned in the intro, we of course have the Brave and the Bold movie coming out, which is being directed by Andy Muschietti, best known for his work on the It films and the Flash movie in 2023. Alongside that, we're going to be seeing other members of the Batfamily in a few other projects as well. We're likely going to be seeing Dick Grayson, Robin, and Nightwing on the big screen in the long-rumoured Teen Titans movie, and we're also going to be seeing Jason Todd in animation form in the Dynamic Duo movie alongside Grayson. Whilst the Dynamic Duo film itself is set for release in 2028, neither Brave and the Bold or the Teen Titans film have a clear release date yet, though I'm thinking that sometime in the late 2020s is looking more likely at this point. Now, I won't be discussing who I think should play the DCU Batman because that is easily worth a video on its own, so let me know if that's something you would like to see from me. Now, the most important thing to talk about is what members specifically we will be getting in the universe, bar the ones I mentioned. For one thing, Batman is more experienced in this new world. With his cameo in Creature Commandos, many have speculated that Bruce in this timeline has been active likely for over a decade up to this point. And quickly sidelining into timeline discussion for a moment, Bruce in most continuities, such as the New 52, was around the late 20s mark, specifically 27 when he became Batman. So if we add 15 years onto that, then Bruce is more than likely to be in his early 40s or even mid 40s in this universe. So with that being said, what will the BatFamily roster look like? Now, given that Bruce will be more experienced, and my timeline discussion just now, I think we can take the logical leap and assume he'll have gone through the first three Robins, Grayson, Todd and Drake, Batgirl, Barbara Gordon, and maybe a few other members of this group as well. So in my mind, the BatFamily should include Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, Barbara Gordon as Oracle, Kane's Batwoman, Luke Fox as Batwing, Ace the Bathound, Alfred, Cassandra, Kane, and of course Damian, the fourth Robin. With that being said, let's take a look at who I would cast in these respective roles. So starting off with the first boy wonder himself, Richard Dick Grayson. Now, with the Dynamic Duo movie, I think we'll get to see the origins of Robin in this universe and the transition from Dick's time as Robin to Nightwing, and then seeing how Jason Todd fills the role afterwards and how he becomes the Red Hood. Now, I have actually discussed casting choices for Grayson before on the channel. In my Teen Titans video, I brought up the idea of casting Wolfgang Novogratz, but he is the fancast favourite, and in my own DC universe, which has been completed now, I went with Mina Massoud, who you might know from the Aladdin film. However, I think age will need to be taken into account here, and both Mina and Wolfgang are in their late 20s to early 30s, which might hinder the chances of seeing either of them take on the role of Nightwing. Whilst I have nothing against the actors, age is still a factor in this matter here. But moving on to who I think could play Nightwing realistically in the DCU, I think Azure Angel will be a pretty good choice. Not only is he in his early 20s, but he's also been proven to be quite the actor in some of his roles. Now, Asher of course is no stranger to DC films or comic book movies in particular, having appeared as Billy Batson in the Shazam films, but we are seeing actors from the previous universe take on new roles in this new narrative, I guess, with Jason Momoa proving to be one such example, having previously played Aquaman in the DCEU, now coming over to Gunn's universe to play Lobo in the upcoming Supergirl film. Now, regarding Dick's look in the DCU, it can vary depending on where we'll be seeing him in his career. Now, if the Dynamic Duo movie is anything to go by, it's definitely possible to see Dick during his time as Robin, so we'll likely see him during that phase of his career in particular. And the Teen Titans film is likely going to have the animated lineup from the original TV show, so we'll likely be seeing Dick as Robin in this film specifically. Regarding his look as Nightwing, I actually quite liked his look from Arkham Knight, however I think his look in Arkham City would be perfect. In my opinion, it's the perfect blend of realism and comic accuracy that the character needs, and it also satisfies Troy Boy 17's need of giving Nightwing a mullet haircut. And next up we have the second Robin, Jason Todd, aka the Red Hood. Now, when it comes to how Jason will appear in the DCU, that depends on a few things, specifically whether Todd has already been resurrected by Brave and the Bold or not. Now, quite famously in the comics, Jason Todd was killed off in the Death in the Family storyline, and in the first for the medium at the time, was actually voted to be killed off by the fans. Now, Jason's resurrection in the comics is complicated depending on which continuity you're actually reading. In the Under the Red Hood animated film, Jason is resurrected by the League of Assassins, but in the comics continuity, there's actually much more to it. Now, in the comics, Jason's resurrection originally was actually down to Superboy Prime, who punched the literal fabric of reality during Infinite Crisis and somehow ended up bringing the second Robin back from the dead. Now, it wasn't as simple as that, however, because Jason may have been brought back to life, but was now wandering around like a zombie, and it wasn't until he took a dip in Ra's al Ghul's magic jacuzzi that he finally came back to life. Anyway, regarding the casting for Jason, I think we need to have an actor who is around the same age as Asher Angel. That way we can get the kind of brother dynamic that we've normally seen with them. And with that being said, my choice for Jason Todd in the DCU is Tanner Buchanan. Now, you'll likely know Tanner for a few roles, but he's most prominently known as Robbie Keane in Cobra Kai, which has recently concluded with its 6th season. Anyway, I chose Tanner because he's similar in age to Asher, so we can have that brotherly dynamic that the two Robins have had before. Plus, Tanner and Asher are both young enough for us to see them during their respective tenures as the boy Wonder. Now, when it comes to how Jason is handled on screen, whilst I doubt it would happen, I would love to see the roles reversed and have Jason be the first Robin that Bruce took in. In Sean Murphy's White Knight universe, this is actually the case, although accidentally, because Murphy himself stated this was due to a timeline error on his part. And whilst accidental, I thought it was a really neat change to the source material, and on screen I could see this being a unique dynamic. We've seen for decades now the differences between Dick and Jason as characters, so reversing those roles and having the dynamic change would be a really interesting and unique change to the source material itself. Okay, next up we have the third Robin, Tim Drake. Now, this is actually another interesting topic to discuss because due to the larger reputations of Damian, Nightwing and Jason, a lot of people overlook Tim as Robin, which really is a shame. Now, Tim was introduced in Batman number 436 in August of 1989. This was a defining moment in Batman's history because it was a little after Jason Todd's death as we saw Bruce mourning the loss of Robin. And since his introduction, we've seen Tim in various forms of Batman media, whether it be games or animation. And when it comes to adapting Tim on screen, I would ideally love to see a version of Tim more inspired by the Arkhamverse, though that's my personal preference because the Arkham Knight version of Tim was my first exposure to the character. And regarding the casting, I actually have the perfect idea in mind, and that is Ryan Potter. Now, like Asher Angel, Ryan is no stranger to DC, having played Beast Boy in Titans, and for many years has actually been deeply interested in portraying Robin, and based on the test footage of him displaying some impressive moves, I think he'd be a very good fit for the role. And regarding Tim's look, of course the comics look is important here, but a cross between that and his Arkham City look would be a great way to bring the design of the third Robin to life. And I think Brave and the Bold especially, we may see Tim as Robin for a majority of the film, which was the case in the comics until Damian showed up. And then we can see Tim in the transition to the Red Robin role, or whatever role we end up getting for him in the new universe. But yeah, I think that's what Tim could look like in this new universe. Concluding the Robin section of this list, we have Damian Wayne, the fourth Robin in the canon. Now, Damian's time as the Boy Wonder has been varied. Upon his introduction, he didn't immediately take on the mantle like his predecessors. In fact, it wasn't until Bruce died in Final Crisis when Dick Grayson became Batman that Damian then took on the role as Robin, and this remained the case until the New 52 when that whole reboot occurred, thank you Barry Allen. Anyway, in the New 52 timeline, Bruce returned as Batman with Damian now fighting by his side, with the other Robins all having moved on by this point in the world. With that being said, however, Damian coming to the big screen is a big deal, as we haven't seen any of the Robins in the films since Chris O'Donnell in Batman and Robin. And regarding who could play Damian, as far as I know, Aidan Gallagher from the Umbrella Academy has been the fancast favourite, which I can see. He's done superhero roles before, so I could see him taking on the role. Though I would say the casting for Damian does largely depend on who's going to play Talia al Ghul in this new universe. I say that because in the comics, Talia has both Chinese and Arab ancestry, so it's more than likely to see that same lineage brought into consideration when casting Damian. So as far as I'm concerned, that's a character whose casting remains up in the air right now. So moving on to another important member of the Bat-family, Barbara Gordon, and I have some in-depth thoughts on the character. Now, Babs has two well-known personas in DCU, these being Batgirl of course, and her more behind-the-scenes role, Oracle. Now, in the comics, Barbara was active in the field as Batgirl until the events of Alan Moore's The Killing Joke, where the Joker shoots Barbara in a bid to drive James Gordon insane, but the resulting injury left her wheelchair-bound. And I would quite like to see Barbara as Oracle already, mainly because Raven the Bold is picking up later into the Bat-family's timeline, so it seems more logical to assume that Barbara has already been Batgirl and has since become Oracle. Therefore, also making the logical leap that Bruce has gone through a version of The Killing Joke prior to the events of this film. Now, regarding who plays Babs in live action, one thing I would ideally like to see is an actual disabled actress playing Barbara, something that Titans actually did when the team went to Gotham. And my choice for Oracle is Kitty Castledine, currently known here in the UK for her ongoing role as Penny Branning in EastEnders. Does she fit the role of Barbara? I like to think so. Can she do an American accent? I have no idea. But she has got the acting ability, in my opinion, to pull off a character like Babs, so I'd be down to see her on screen. And that now brings us to one of the other women in the Bat family, Cain. Now, we have seen Kate in live action before, played by two different actresses. In the Arrowverse, when the CW wanted to go to Gotham but couldn't use Batman for a lot of reasons, they instead introduced Cain, played by Ruby Rose. And despite playing the role for one season, she quite famously quit the show due to her being unhappy with the long hours and the working conditions on set. And with that being said, I find it unlikely she would return to work for Warner Bros. In any capacity, given her kind of outspoken stuff on social media. But when Kate returned briefly in the show after a completely original character took on the Batwoman mantle, Cain was now played by Wallace Day, who I don't know a lot about, though she also did not stick around to play the character. Now, regarding who could play Kate in the DCU is interesting, because there are many actors out there who could bring her to life on screen. Now, the actress I think could pull off that role is Kristen Stewart, and whilst this is another Twilight actor joining DC, we have seen that work out before with Robert Pattinson, so I think this is a pretty safe bet. Plus, we have seen actors from the Twilight films in varying degrees go on to do greater things outside of those movies, with Pattinson being one such example, not just with the Reeves Batman film, but also with movies such as The Lighthouse and Mickey 17, which is being directed by Bong Joon-ho, who made Parasite. Moving on to who I consider the most important member of the Bat family, Alfred. Now, Alfred's importance in the Batman mythos is not to be understated, because he acted as Bruce's father when Thomas and Martha were killed in Crime Alley, and Alfred also acts as a father figure to the other Robins when Bruce takes them in during their own tenures in the Batcave. And regarding who could play Alfred, there are loads of options. Some have suggested Pierce Brosnan over the years, including myself, a choice that I think could work, though considering he's played Dr. Fate, I think it's possible he and possibly the JSA cast from Black Adam, excluding The Rock sadly, could come back in some form in Gunn's new universe, because a lot of those castings were really good and I'd hate to see them go to waste. Another option is Ralph Fiennes, an actor who has technically played the role before in animation, more specifically, Fiennes lent his voice to Alfred for the Lego Batman movie.
Oh, Alfred, I am so sorry. I have incredible reflexes.
And we have seen that scenario before with Zoe Kravitz, who did the voice for Catwoman in that film, and went on to play the character in live action in the Reeves Batman film. However, my ideal choice for Alfred is Richard E. Grant, who I think could bring this character to life really well on screen. Having played a superhero role before in that of the classic Loki variant in the Disney Plus show, I think Grant wouldn't immediately say no to another role in the genre, though it would of course depend on the script in whatever form it takes. And lastly, we have Cassandra Cain, one of the many characters in the Batman mythos to have taken on the mantle of Batgirl. Now, Cass has quite a unique history. In the comics, she's the daughter of both David Kane and Lady Shiva, two deadly fighters from the larger DC universe. And when Cass discovered the truth of her parents, she left and joined the BatFamily, taking on the mantle of Batgirl. In recent years, however, Cass has taken on different monikers throughout her time with the BatFamily, with Orphan being one of the more well-known ones. And regarding Cass's introduction into the DCU, we're in a unique situation here, because Cass, unlike a lot of the BatFamily, hasn't been adapted into a lot of the DC media outside of the comics. And while yes, she was in Birds of Prey, a lot of people don't seem to be counting that one for a couple of reasons. Now, a lot of people online have actually expressed a lot of interest in seeing Cass join Robert Pattinson in the Reeves Batman universe, which could work, but I think that entirely depends on where the Pattinson Batman will be after the next couple of years, especially given that his sequel has been delayed to 2027. God, I'm so bitter about that. Anyway, regarding the casting for Cassandra Cain, there are a few options out there, but there's an actress named Riley Lina-Ley, best known for starring in the Amazon show Paper Girls, and she's been pretty vocal about wanting to play Cass in live action, which I think could work fairly well. It just depends on the right material that's given to them. However, that is where I'm going to be drawing this video to a close and turn the discussion over to you guys. What members of the BatFamily would you like to see in the new DC universe, and if you have any casting ideas, then be sure to let me know down below. In the meantime, be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any more videos like this one. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all soon.